AWS Certified DevOps Engineer. Professional DOP-C02 exam updated dumps questions are valuable for you to study all the related topics. Share some AWS Certified DOP-C02 exam updated dumps here. 1. A company is running an application on Amazon EC2 instances in an auto-scaling group. Recently an issue occurred that prevented EC2 instances from launching successfully, and it took several hours for the support team to discover the issue. The support team wants to be notified by email whenever an EC2 instance does not start successfully. Which action will accomplish this? A. Add a health check to the auto-scaling group to invoke an AWS Lambda function whenever an instance status is impaired. B. Configure the auto-scaling group to send a notification to an Amazon SNS topic whenever a failed instance launch occurs. C. Create an Amazon CloudWatch alarm that invokes an AWS Lambda function when a failed attach instance's auto-scaling API call is made. D. Create a status check alarm on Amazon EC2 to send a notification to an Amazon SNS topic whenever a status check fail occurs. 2. A company uses Amazon S3 to store proprietary information. The development team creates buckets for new projects on a daily basis. The security team wants to ensure that all existing and future buckets have encryption logging and versioning enabled. Additionally, no buckets should ever be publicly read or write accessible. What should a DevOps engineer do to meet these requirements? A. Enable AWS CloudTrail and configure automatic remediation using AWS Lambda. B. Enable AWS Config rules and configure automatic remediation using AWS Systems Manager documents. C. Enable AWS Trusted Advisor and configure automatic remediation using Amazon Event Bridge. D. Enable AWS Systems Manager and configure automatic remediation using Systems Manager documents. 3. An application runs on Amazon EC2 instances behind an application load balancer, ALB. A DevOps engineer is using AWS code deploy to release a new version. The deployment fails during the AL/IO traffic lifecycle event, but a cause for the failure is not indicated in the deployment logs. What would cause this? A. The app spec. YML file contains an invalid script that runs in the allow traffic lifecycle hook. B. The user who initiated the deployment does not have the necessary permissions to interact with the ALB. C. The health checks specified for the ALB target group are misconfigured. D. The code deploy agent was not installed in the EC2 instances that are PAD of the ALB target group. 4. A company updated the AWS CloudFormation template for a critical business application. The stack update process failed due to an error in the updated template, and AWS CloudFormation automatically began the stack rollback process. Later, a DevOps engineer discovered that the application was still unavailable and that the stack was in the update_rollback_ failed state. Which combination of actions should the DevOps engineer perform so that the stack rollback can complete successfully? Select 2. A. Attach the AWS CloudFormation full access IAM policy to the AWS C02 formation role. B. Automatically recover the stack resources by using AWS CloudFormation drift detection. C. Issue a continue update rollback command from the AWS CloudFormation console or the AWS CLI. D. Manually adjust the resources to match the expectations of the stack. E. Update the existing AWS CloudFormation stack by using the original template. 5. A company is storing 100 GB of log data in CSV format in an Amazon S3 bucket. SQL developers want to query this data and generate graphs to visualize it. The SQL developers also need an efficient automated way to store metadata from the CSV file. Which combination of steps will meet these requirements with the least amount of effort? Select 3. A. Filter the data through AWS X-ray to visualize the data. B. Filter the data through Amazon QuickSight to visualize the data. C. Query the data with Amazon Athena. D. Query the data with Amazon Redshift. E. Use the AWS Glue data catalog as the persistent metadata store. F. Use Amazon DynamoDB as the persistent metadata store. 6. A large enterprise is deploying a web application on AWS. The application runs on Amazon EC2 instances behind an application load balancer. The instances run in an auto-scaling group across multiple availability zones. The application stores data in an Amazon RDS for Oracle DB instance and Amazon DynamoDB. There are separate environments for development, testing and production. What is the most secure and flexible way to obtain password credentials during deployment? A. Retrieve an access key from an AWS Systems Manager secure string parameter to access AWS services. Retrieve the database credentials from a Systems Manager secure string parameter. B. Launch the EC2 instances with an EC2-1AM role to access AWS services. Retrieve the database credentials from AWS Secrets Manager. C. Retrieve an access key from an AWS Systems Manager plaintext parameter to access AWS services. Retrieve the database credentials from a Systems Manager secure string parameter. D. Launch the EC2 instances with an EC2-1AM role to access AWS services. Store the database passwords in an encrypted config file with the application artifacts. 7. A company manages an application that stores logs in Amazon CloudWatch logs. The company wants to archive the logs to an Amazon S3 bucket. Logs are rarely accessed after 90 days and must be retained toward 10 years. Which combination of steps should a DevOps engineer take to meet these requirements? Select 2. A. Configure a CloudWatch log subscription filter to use AWS Glue to transfer all logs to an S3 bucket. B. Configure a CloudWatch log subscription filter to use Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose to stream all logs to an S3 bucket. C. Configure a CloudWatch log subscription filter to stream all logs to an S3 bucket. D. Configure the S3 bucket lifecycle policy to transition logs to S3 Glacier after 90 days and to expire logs after 3.650 days. E. Configure the S3 bucket lifecycle policy to transition logs to reduced redundancy after 90 days and to expire logs after 3.650 days. 8. A DevOps engineer is deploying a new version of a company's application in an AWS Code Deploy deployment group associated with its Amazon EC2 instances. After some time, the deployment fails. The engineer realizes that all the events associated with the specific deployment ID are in a skipped status and code was not deployed in the instances associated with the deployment group. What are valid reasons for this failure? Select 2. A. The networking configuration does not allow the EC2 instances to reach the Internet via a NAT gateway or Internet gateway, and the code deploy endpoint cannot be reached. B. The IAM user who triggered the application deployment does not have permission to interact with the code deploy endpoint. C. The target EC2 instances were not properly registered with the code deploy endpoint. D. An instance profile with proper permissions was not attached to the target EC2 instances. E. The app spec. YML file was not included in the application revision. 9. A company uses a series of individual Amazon CloudFormation templates to deploy its multi-region applications. These templates must be deployed in a specific order. The company is making more changes to the templates than previously expected and wants to deploy new templates more efficiently. Additionally, the data engineering team must be notified of all changes to the templates. What should the company do to accomplish these goals? A. Create an AWS Lambda function to deploy the CloudFormation templates. M. The required order use stack policies to alert the data engineering team. B. Host the CloudFormation templates in Amazon S3. Use Amazon S3 events to directly trigger CloudFormation updates and Amazon SNS notifications. C. Implement CloudFormation stack sets and use drift detection to trigger update alerts to the data engineering team. D. Leverage CloudFormation nested stacks and stack sets, or deployments. Use Amazon SNS to notify the data engineering team. 10. A company wants to ensure that their EC2 instances are secure. They want to be notified if any new vulnerabilities are discovered on their instances, and they also want an audit trail of all login activities on the instances. Which solution will meet these requirements? A. Use AWS Systems Manager to detect vulnerabilities on the EC2 instances. Install the Amazon Kinesis agent to capture system logs and deliver them to Amazon S3. B. Use AWS Systems Manager to detect vulnerabilities on the EC2 instances. Install the Systems Manager agent to capture system logs and view login activity in the CloudTrail console. C. Configure Amazon CloudWatch to detect vulnerabilities on the EC2 instances. Install the AWS config daemon to capture system logs and view them in the AWS config console. D. Configure Amazon Inspector to detect vulnerabilities on the EC2 instances. Install the Amazon CloudWatch agent to capture system logs and record them via Amazon CloudWatch logs.